Hello board gamers and welcome back to Not Board Gaming. I'm your host, I'm Mark. Now in today's video I'm going to be reviewing the solo experience of the latest release from Mindclash Games. This is Septima, designed by Robin Hegedus and illustrated by Vio Farkas, with a solo mode by John Albertson and David Turczi. Now this is another one in Mindclash Games' kind of more accessible line of games like Astra was, etc. Of course, Mindclash are very much known for big, complex games such as Anachrony, such as Voidfall, such as Tricerion, etc. So they launched this on Kickstarter last year, and you know what? It didn't have a solo mode at the time, but I did back it at the time. I did play it multiplayer, and I backed it at the time, knowing that a solo mode was going to be coming for it. So what is Septima? So Septima is a 1 to 4 player game where you play a coven of witches, and you're going around and you're trying to heal people, and you're on the run from the witch hunters, and you are trying to save other witches from trials that happen at the end of each season. And also you've got your rituals board where you're going to move up and get spells, etc. So it's effectively, you're kind of going around, you're picking up resources, you're converting those resources, you're delivering them, and you're trying to stay one step ahead of the kind of hangry crowd and the hunters as well. And essentially it's played with a deck of cards. So you start the game, if you're playing the full game, there's 2 versions of the game. There's kind of the training game and then the full game, 2 versions, and in the full version you're going to have 9 cards, and these 9 cards you're going to get to use some of those each round. You see, the game is broken up into a number of seasons. There are 4 seasons, surprisingly, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 turns per season. So that's a total of 20 moves you're going to have in the game. Now, in the multiplayer game, of course, you're going to be racking up these things called wisdom points, etc., and trying to achieve certain criteria on your Book of Divinations card, which is a random card that you all get at the beginning of the game, and that's got different scoring criteria on there. And then, of course, the person who gets the most wins. All the time you're trying to get additional witches into your coven, etc. The solo game is scored slightly different at the end. There's a list of kind of criteria, trials and tribulations that you have to get, and you have to achieve a certain number of those trials and tribulations at the end of the solo game. But it still plays more or less exactly the same as the multiplayer game as well. So the artwork is utterly stunning. I think the artwork is fantastic, and the production quality with the game trays is really, really absolutely first rate. And the implementation of the solo AI, which is called the Black Widow, by John Albertson and David Turczi, is very, very easy to understand and kind of run as well. Again, they will operate from a number of cards that dictate their moves. You're going to roll a die. There's got 1, 2s and 3s on there to say which card they're going to do. And essentially what they're going to try and do is create a bit of buggeration for you. They have some spiders on the board, and those spiders are going to try and hone in on you as you move around the board and prevent you from doing things, make you lose wisdom, etc. And of course you've got the hunters after you as well, who are going to try and come and capture you or get you and make you lose some of your witches to the trial area. So the solo AI works really well. There's like very little overhead, if you like, on that. But to play the solo game, you have to know the full version of the game. So that means you're going to have to go through a couple of additional steps that the multiplayers don't do, because you can only play the solo by understanding how the multiplayer game works. But we'll talk about that in a bit. So without much further ado, let me take you down to the table, show you roughly kind of how it works. Bear in mind that this is not a how to play, this is just me kind of showing you the mechanisms of the game. And we'll come back at the back end and discuss my thoughts on Septima from Mindclash Games, designed by Robin Hegedus, illustrated by Vio Farkas, and with a solo mode by John Albertson and David Turczi. Okay, so here we go. We've got everything set up for a solo game of Septima by Mindclash Games. Now, as you can see, it's a bit of a table hog. You can see I've got everything set out here, but I do have the 2 expansions mixed in here as well. I have the Shapeshifter expansion and the Omens expansion, which you can't see, which are cards over there. They just add some playing elements to it. I find it a more intriguing and interesting game if I add those to it, but you're going to want to work up to adding those into it. One thing that you can't see on here is, to speak about the production quality, is this wonderful kind of cauldron that you have here that you're storing the potions in. You're going to take these potions when you when you brew them throughout the game, and all you do is you push down on the top there and you're going to get a potion and put them back in there. That's a really nice kind of thematic thing for this big plastic cauldron. I don't know if it's going to be the retail version. That's the main thing. So over here we have the main board, okay, and let me just zoom into that a little bit. So this is the main board, and you can see I've got my kind of character just there. Now around the board it's set up for the solo game, so I have 3 hunters on here, and I also have 3, sorry, that should be that way. I also have 3 spiders on here, so 1, 2, 3 spiders, 1, 2, 3 hunters. The hunters, if I raise suspicion when I'm in their particular sectors, and we'll talk about the sectors in a bit, they're going to try and reach me and capture me and make me lose wisdom and potentially lose witches. And the spiders are only in the solo game, they're part of the Black Widow, and again they're going to try and hone in on me. Put a couple of buildings out, those buildings give additional powers, and here we can see 4 different chits here, so there are some sick villagers here that we're going to have to try and heal. If I don't heal them, chances are the Black Widow's going to heal them, and if Black Widow doesn't heal them and they're there at the end of the game, what happens is, at the end of the round, then an angry villager gets put on there, and what can happen there is they can get put into the trial chambers and they can make it difficult to win trials. What are trials? Well, over here you have 2 trial chambers, 1 and 2, and at the end of each season there's going to be a trial. You're going to add your loyal citizens into the trial crowd up there, as is the Black Widow. They're going to add their loyal citizens, and then at the end of the season what happens is all of those get put into this bag along with some angry citizens, and that's dictated to by what's on your board, and then you draw them out and you're going to move them around here. Now in the solo game you're going to move them up to there, you're going to put them out up to there. If I got the most loyal citizens there, then I get to win. That particular witch goes into my coven, and as you can see, each witch has got some additional powers on there. And I get 3 points. If the AI wins them, then they get the witch, they go into their coven, stops me getting them, and they steal 3 points from me. And if the angry citizens win, then what happens is the witch just goes out of the game, you don't get to have them. And there could potentially be 2 trials, there's 2 trial chambers there. And at the end of that trial, everything goes back into the crowd. Depending on how many people you've got in there, how many loyal citizens, you get to pick some crowd picks, which are these additional bonuses, if you like, down there. So that's a trial area there. Now over here, you have the season and turn tracker. So there are 4 seasons. We're going to start off here, and we're going to move through, I think it's spring, summer, autumn, winter, or whichever way around it is, can't remember exactly. Yeah, and that's your kind of round tracker there. So that's how many rounds there are, 4, and you can see I've got some more. Hunters there, because when it reaches season 2 and season 4, those hunters are going to go on the board. Then above here you have kind of the turn tracker, and you have some ingredients that you're randomly putting out here. There are 5 types of ingredients, and wherever this turn tracker is, those ingredients next to it are called the lunar ingredients, and they can affect what you collect throughout the game, because you're going to need ingredients to brew potions. So you can use potions, first of all. Some potions get you points. Secondly, you're going to need potions to heal the afflicted up there. That's kind of how that works there. Then down here we have the Septima. There are a number of these tokens here. I think there are, in the full game, there are 9 of them. And each round you're going to put 2 on there. 1 on the left, 1 on the right. Okay? So if you match your action, and you can see on your cards, that each card has a symbol above there, basically. You're going to choose these cards throughout your turn. If you match these actions, then they're going to raise suspicion either by 1 on the left-hand side or 2 if you're matching with on the right-hand side. What does suspicion do? Well, suspicion actually increases on your board. It can put more people into the crowd, but if you raise suspicion in the same sector as where a hunter is, then that hunter is going to roll the hunter dice and try and come after you. Okay? So that's kind of the main board. Really nice thing on here is this like kind of turn tracker, if you like, or yeah, what you do on your move. It starts and you move it through and it tells you kind of where you go, and then you put it back there for the next person, or the AI as it would be in this case, to go. So that's the main board done there. I'll just pull back a little bit. So this is the player board, and what you got here on the left hand side is your suspicion. You start off on 2, and your suspicion is going to raise throughout the game. Every time your suspicion raises on your turn, then what happens is that the hunter, if there's a hunter in your section, is effectively going to try and come for you. You have a couple of witches that you're going to start with. It tells you how to draft in the early game. You can see these got some power. So this one here, this is Dragomir. And if on the trial I have a loyal citizen who's closest to the front of the first space on the trial, then I would lower my suspicion by 2. And here, if I brew 3 black potions, I think that is. Yeah, if I brew 3 black potions, then I can move my ritual marker up 1. So that's there, and that will rise throughout the game. Your suspicion will rise throughout the game. You see these little red, these little icons here with red people. At the end of that season, to define how many angry citizens go into the trial bag, into the trial crowd, then you're going to count how many are below your marker. And that's going to go in there, and that will be for both you and the AI. So the AI is going to rack up theirs as well at the same time. Over here, we have these markers here, one for each afflicted type of citizen, and every time you heal one, you move up 1, and you get the benefit and the bonus underneath. This is the full game version. Also, at the end of the game, you get the score of where they are, and also for every row that they moved up together. So if that's like that, then we would score on this row, then we get another 6 points as well. So that is a really kind of effective way of kind of racking up your wisdom points at the end of the game. Here is my inventory. This is where I'm keeping my potions, my various items I've collected, etc., or ingredients I've collected from the board to enable me to brew potions. Now at the top, I've got my loyal citizens. You can see the green ones up there. And because I'm playing the shapeshifter module, I've got my 2 shapeshifter animals as well. And these are kind of temporary boons that you can put on your board, allow you to get your cards back in the full game using the shapeshifter module, and they would cover up a witch in your coven. Coven. But that is, the rules are slightly different for the shapeshifter edition in the game. So that's kind of the player board there. The AI player board is pretty similar. There's probably one other board to show you, which is the rituals board. So up there is the rituals board. Again, this is only in the full game. And we're going to start off, when you first move up the rituals board, you're going to start off and move your rituals marker up here. Now what you have to do, there's 2 ways to move up a couple of ways to move up the rituals board. First of all, you may just be able to move up depending on a particular action from a card or a spell, etc. But secondly, if you match, so if I match either the action I'm doing with the Septima or with the AI, and that symbol that I'm matching with is also on the next symbol above, I can move my ritual marker up. Well, why would I do that? First of all, you get points for moving up the board. Secondly, it unlocks spells as you move up. The further up you go, you have to pay a cost to get those spells. And these are the spells here. I should have turned those over. These are the spells down here. And these can add additional kind of bonuses or scoring, etc., and you will get to cast them. So if you take a spell, you get to cast it if you play the right kind of action, and that will, you put a cast marker on there and turn it sideways, and that means it's cast. But that can be quite powerful, so you really got to look at the spells that are coming up there as you move up that board. It's also important for some of the Book of Divinations scoring. For example, here I would get 10 points. If my spell marker ended up on green. Green is on this side of the board, so you have earth and fire magic moving up here. So, you know, you may want to move your finger around the board depending on what card you're playing to move up, but eventually I know to get the maximum points from that, I would have to end up in this green column. So that's kind of the rituals board. That's more or less everything other than the AI cards. So let me just take you over to the AI cards. So these are the Black Widow cards, and she has a deck of cards, and you're going to put 2 out to the left of there, and then put the pile on there. When you come to choose your cards at the beginning, generally you're going to choose your card that you're going to play. This is this from your hand here, and you're going to roll the die for the Black Widow, and whatever that lands on is the card that they're going to pull. So that's going to be this one here. That would be their turn. You do that generally before you pick your after you've chosen your card, should I say, not before, but after you've chosen your card. This becomes a very important card. The most left card that is left in the row becomes a very, very important card, and I'll explain that in a bit. So you would pick your card, then you would pick her card, and that's the action that they're going to take. However, you are going to get access as a solo gamer to some of these cards, which are negotiation cards. And one of them, so cooperation, allows you to kind of match with an action in their discard pile. Delay allows you to move the cards around in the row. There's a higher propensity for ones on there, so if you don't want the card that's in the one position, you can get rid of that. And information allows you to play that card and get them to play to choose their card first before you do. But that effectively gives their action. Again, they're bound by some similar rules. So here, they've got the chant card, okay? They have different actions on there that you can perform, but the rules in terms of where they match with the symbols is exactly the same. And unless I play a chant card, then they're not going to match with anything, because I know the Septima has got ritual, and I think it's heal or justice or whatever, basically, so they're not going to match. So that is going to dictate their turn, and that is a fairly simple upkeep on what the on how you choose the AI's kind of moves for that particular turn. So that's more or less everything in terms of rules, from additions for the Shapeshifter and for the Omens cards. But in reality, that's kind of how it plays. I've not really gone through all the setup rules, but I started off and went through my prologue cards and got these particular ingredients. So let's play a first card. And you get to look at all of your cards, effectively. And I want to show you, I'm not going to play massively optimal here, but I'm going to show you kind of how matching works. So I'm going to play a plead card, which is there. So I've chosen my card, all right? The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to roll for the Black Widow. So if we go over here, I've got 1, 2, 3, we'll roll that dice, and it's a 1. So they are going to play a recruit card on their turn. So that's there. Now here we move on to the next part. I'm first player, so I get to go first. I can take a quick move action. I can move. So where will I want to move to? Let's see if we can make this a little bit more difficult. We're going to move just up there. I'm moving away from things, I say, not optimally at the moment. Then I get to play the action on my card. It says, send 1 loyal citizen from the crowd into the trial chamber and score 2 wisdom, which is great. So I'm going to send that loyal citizen from the crowd into the trial chamber. That's great. But it also says, if I matched, now I did. I played a plead card, which has got this symbol on it. You can see there that it's got the same symbol on the Septima there. So I get to play the second action. You only get that if you match either with the Septima or with the AI. I can also send 1 loyal citizen from my supply to the crowd. There we go. And it also says on that top action to score 2 wisdom. So I'll score 2 wisdom. There we go. My wisdom's building up. That will be the AI will try and get that. So that's that particular action. Then, did I match? Yes, I did. That symbol matched that, which increases my suspicion by 2. We start off on 2, 3, 4. Great. So because I matched, what happens here is I'm now going to roll the hunter die. So I look for a hunter in my sector. Is there a hunter in my sector? No. Now what you can't see on the board from here is it's split up into 6 sectors. And they've got colours on there, basically 2 colours that are alternating and 2 symbols that are alternating. If there was, if there was a hunter in my sector, I would roll this dice. It's got 0, that's rolled out at, and I would add my suspicion onto there, and they would move that number towards me. So there we go, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. They would get me if they were in my sector. They weren't, okay? So what happens here is you then do this and you say, right, if my suspicion moved up and there wasn't a hunter in my sector, that hunter would move to my hut, or the hut in my sector, which is there, lay down, and that means they would be closer to me for the next turn. So that's how kind of suspicion works. Then we go and we do the AI's action. So the AI doesn't have presence on the board. And the first thing they're going to do is do something called a spider scuttle. Now, if you remember, I said that the leftmost card that's in the game that's left on their row after they've chosen a card is really important. And it is because it's highlighting this particular sector here, which is this left-handed sector on the board. And it looks for any spiders there that that are in that area, and they're going to move one towards me. Well, there are none in that sector, so it then moves to the next sector, which is here, and that spider moves there, and that's the spider scuttle. Now, in the beginning of the game, you know, you may move 1 or 2 spiders, but as it gets kind of further into the game, then what's going to happen is they are going to move more and more towards you, and they do become a bit of a pain. So now we're going to do their action, and if we look here, they've got a recruit card. Okay, so this is one that they chose. First of all, they don't match. That doesn't match anywhere up there. So we're going to move down here. Oh, that should be starting on 4. I'm going to move down to this action. It says, first choose the first failure option. Put 2 cursed citizens into the crowd. So they're going to take 2 of their citizens and they're going to put them into the crowd there. And they're already starting to build up that presence. They haven't matched. They don't take the second option. So that's okay. That card is going to go into the discard pile. I'm going to move everything along here. And that's the end of their turn. Effectively there, we're going to whip over another card. Oh, one thing I forgot to do, of course, I matched here, and if I matched, I play a card of the same symbol, I can move up onto on the ritual track here. And as you can see, that's the ritual track just there. Now, I could have started at any of these here, but that's the one I want to start at because I matched with that symbol. Of course, that gives me the furthest way away from where I need to be at the end of the game to score that. So then what happens, we get to the end of the round. The first thing we're going to do is remove the right token, shift that one up, put that one there. Yeah. Second one is we are going to stand up any hunters that have come around there. We're going to remove any of the citizens that we've healed. We haven't healed any of those. And we're going to move the lunar marker onto the next one, and we can see that the next lunar ingredients are going to be there. Right, so that's kind of turn 1 of round 1 done. That goes into my discard pile, and here we go. We'll move on to the next round now. So we know they match for ritual and for, I think that's heal. Yeah, match for heal. I can't heal yet because I don't have any potions, so maybe I'm going to brew. So let's have a look at brewing. I think I'm going to brew some potions. Okay, so we can brew up to 3 potions. Back over to the AI. There we go. They're doing number 2, so they're going to do a plead action. Again, neither of those match. So now we go back to me. I've done that, and I can move there. That spider's getting a little bit close to me. So let's just move there. I know I've moved into a suboptimal way, but I've just moved there, done my quick move. So now, to do this. First of all, I don't match with anybody. Neither is matched with anybody. And I can brew up to 3 potions. So you're going to get a handy card here, and it tells you what potions you can brew. All right, I know I'm near a pink here, and that will give me, if I did a blueberry and a carrot type thing, I would be able to get that. And I also know that I am near a blue as well, which would allow me, if I did a bush and the skull, the blue remedy as well, and that's really good. So these remedies are for healing. These are for your personal, your kind of personal use, the practical potions. And every time you brew one of these, they allow you to, they give you 3 wisdom points, and these give you kind of things. So that one allows you to lower your suspicion. That would allow you to move any number of spaces. That would allow you to send one loyal citizen to the crowd, and that would allow you to treat your action as a match. So do I have enough left to brew? So no, I don't. I suppose I do. Actually, that shouldn't be there. I shouldn't have had that. So I've only got 1 left. So I can brew 2 potions, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Okay, I am going to brew 2 potions. I already start with a potion, which allows me to act it as matched. I'm going to spend 1 fewer ingredient in total. Yeah, actually, this is where the combos come in. That's exactly what I'm going to do. All right. So the first potion I'm going to brew is going to be a blindness remedy, which is a pink one. We'll put that there. And that's that. Okay, put those over there. Really nice wooden components. Second one is going to be a paralysis remedy, which is this one here. Okay, and we will get a blue potion, which is there. Now, I only have 1 ingredient left, which is a bush, which is this here. However, because I've got this black potion, if we look here, that allows me to treat my action as matched. If I do that, it says here you may spend 1 fewer ingredient in total. So that's great. That means I can match that with something else. And I want a calming potion. Yep, I'm going to get a calming potion here. So I'm going to spend that black potion. I'm going to spend that bush. allow me to get a calming potion, which is this one here, which allows me at some point to lower my suspicion by 2. But every time I brew one of those, I get 3 wisdom points. And you can see the engine is starting to build already now. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So the engine is starting to build on the actions that I've done. Now, then we go here. Did I match? No. I did. Yeah, I did match. Yeah, it allows me to treat as matched. I did match, so of course, because I used the potion, which means that it's classed as a matched action. So the first thing I'm going to do is increase my suspicion, which is there. Next thing, I'm going to move up on here because I matched with that brew there, so that's all right. And because I matched, look at that, we have a hunter in my area, we're going to roll the hunter die. So there we go. He's going to move -2 off my suspicion, so he's going to move 3 towards me. He starts there, 1, 2, 3, didn't quite get me. That's okay, he's going to go back there. That didn't happen, that's my turn done. We move back over to the AI. Okay, so the AI's left action, again, is chant, so it's the same in the same area. These spiders are in the same area. We're looking here, it's only one in that area. That is moving closer to me. You're going to take the path that is the shortest to you. So that spider is moving closest to me. So that was their chant, and then we go down to their plead. We know their plead doesn't match, so they are going to choose the first possible option. Move 2 cursed citizens to the first trial chamber. Wow, so they're already starting to rack up on this here. So there we go, they're going to the first trial chamber. Wow, okay, so I've got to think hard about how I want to win that. That action goes away, those move to the left, that goes there. We're done. We move back here, we move that right token off, move those across. That goes on there, that moves up there. There's no hunters sat down, so that's all right. We go back there and we choose the next action, and that's how you'd go for kind of the rest of the round there. So let's talk about the trials that happen at the end of each round. So up at the top of the board here, so say we got round to the final round here, up at the top of the board we've got the trials basically. So you can see that I've got, let's say I've got another couple in there, 1 in there, and they've got another 2 in there, okay? And we've had another witch come out up there. So to add angry citizens to the trial chamber, not so much on the first round, but if there's any red citizens left on any untreated patients, they would go in there. But you're going to total up the total number of all of these below both of our suspicion markers. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 angry citizens are going to go in. So 3, 6, 7, and they're all going to go into the bag along with mine and the AI's citizens. And I'm going to shake that bag up and we're going to draw out and see who wins here. So he's already starting with 2. He's got 3. Unless 2 of mine come out, then chances are they're going to win. Yeah, as an angry citizen, so I already know that yep, there we go. Already know that the AI has won those. So whoever wins that witch, if they win them, they take the witch, they return 2 of these back to their supply, and the rest of these go back into the bag with everything else. Why is that important? Oh, they're also going to steal 3 wisdom from me for winning that as well. And why is that important? That gives me more of a chance of getting the second trial if possible, because 2 of theirs have gone back in. So let's see. We got angry citizen. We got angry citizen. We got one of theirs, and really not looking good for me here. We got an angry citizen. We got an angry citizen, and therefore we will have an angry citizen. Right, there we go. So nobody has won that. That witch goes away. I didn't even get a look in that. All of these get returned into here. The angry citizens get moved off, and then we start the round over again. And that's effectively how the trial works. And those witches become important because you want more witches on your board. First of all, the more witches you have, the more scoring criteria you can activate at the end of the game. So you need a witch to at least one witch on your board to activate 1, 2 on your board to activate 2, etc. So that's really important, but also the additional powers that the witch gives you. So once that's done, you would then start again. There is the omens phase in the omens expansion, etc. But we'll not go into that right now. You'd start again, go around and do 4 seasons worth of that, 20 moves. and you come out and you do your scoring. And that is kind of a really rapid overview on how you play Septima from Mindclash Games. Okay, so final thoughts on Septima, the solo experience from Mindclash Games. Here we go, designed by Robin Hegedus and Villa Vargas. Apologies if I butchered those names. First of all, let's talk about the production quality. It is absolutely outstanding, as you can see, in most cases. You know, it's potentially slightly overproduced for the type of game that it is, but we'll come on to that in a bit. The artwork is fantastic and really evokes this kind of feeling of, I don't know, these kind of Salem era kind of witchery going on there. And it looks, in the main, absolutely fantastic, from the art on the cards to the art on the witches, the various witches, etc., and on the main board. But there is a problem on the main board with the artwork, and that is identifying the sectors. Once you get to understand the game, you can tell where the sectors are, but the sectors, there are 6 sectors on the board, and it's alternating a colour and a symbol for each sector, basically. It's very difficult to work out where these sectors are. It would have been nice to see some kind of dissecting faint lines on there just to work that through. The more you play it, the more you understand that. But when it comes to actioning the hunters on there, identifying those sectors is just a little bit difficult. More so for the spiders in the solo experience as well, in the fact that you're looking at these kind of these active sectors where they should be moving, and it's yeah, it can be very, very difficult to work out what is where, because the colours are, they're both kind of darkish. One's like a dark purple, one's like a tan brown or a darky tan brown, etc. And the symbols, one's a circle, one's a triangle, but they're very small. And when you play with glasses like me, so sometimes I have to take my glasses off to see certain things, even though I've got varifocals, it becomes difficult identifying those sectors. You know, it kind of, that is really the only major gripe against the artwork and the production quality, is just identifying those sectors on the board. I will say, the iconography, now normally I pick up iconography fairly quickly. I didn't find it as intuitive in Septima as I have in other games. Now other people might find it perfectly intuitive. This is from a personal experience, that I didn't find it as intuitive as in other games. So there was a little bit of kind of rules referencing or icon referencing to understand exactly what the various witches do. And there are lots and lots of witches and how you activate them on your turns, etc., and lots of things to do. It does become obviously more the easier the more you play the game. So artwork wise, absolutely, you know, it looks the part, it feels impressive on the table. It's a big game though, and it will take up quite a bit of table real estate. And then you've got the cauldron as well, which is a great addition. I don't know if it's in the retail version, but certainly in the Kickstarter edition that I've got. A little bit of a problem on some of the potions in the cauldron, where you're trying to get to the last potions as you're pushing down. From a solo perspective, not a massive problem, because you're not going to go through all of those potions. So yeah, overall the artwork is fine. Now, I say the kind of overview I did, it's very brief, didn't touch on most of, on a lot of the mechanisms there, but you got the flow. Effectively, you turn over, you play a card, then you play your action on that card. You then gain the benefit of that action, be that resources, brewing, be that putting people into the crowd or into the citizens into the crowd or into the trials, etc. And you're trying to build up so when it gets to the end of that particular season, you're in the best position possible for your scoring ability, either based on what you want to achieve in the trials or what is your ultimate scoring on your book of divinations. So it kind of, you know, it's 20 turns long. Each of the 4 seasons has 5 rounds, has 5 turns in there for both of you. And I'm going to be honest with you, it feels too long. It feels like it's a game that outstays its welcome. I feel that this could have done better with knocking a turn off each round. That would have made it a far snappier experience. Now, how that would have affected the overall balance of the game, I don't know. I'm not a game designer, obviously I'm not a game developer. but the game tends to outstay its welcome. So when I get to kind of 2/3 of the way through the game, I'm just a little bit disinterested in how it's going to pan out. I don't feel like I am kind of building to a large crescendo finish in this game. And that is a bit of a problem with Septima all through. It's, you know, the rulebook makes the game feel like it's got this far deeper gameplay than it is. And in reality, it isn't. It's a collect resources, convert resources, deliver those resources in the form of kind of healing as kind of one of the core mechanisms, and then some additional bits on there. They're throwing in the spells. You've got the shapeshifter, you've got the omens, you've got putting people into the trials, into the crowd for the trials, etc. And I don't think there's enough meat on the bones to warrant everything that's here. So I find myself becoming disinterested in how the game is going to finish by about 2/3 of the way through the game. I want the game to end at that point. And that's kind of a major flaw for me in this game. It's a bit of a swing and a miss from Mindclash Games. I love Mindclash Games. You know, most of their games rank in my top 10 games of all times. This, for me, is probably a Mindclash game in fact, it's definitely a Mindclash game I'm not going to keep. I've played it maybe 7, 8 times now, and I think I'm done with it. I think I've seen everything it has to offer. I don't feel excitement from it. I don't feel my decisions are totally meaningful from it, and I think there's a large element of luck when it comes to the trials, and I'll talk about that in a second. But let's go on to the solo bot. Okay, so designed by John Albertson and David Turczi. And the solo bot, I have no problems with that. It fits into the game fantastic. I think my only problem with the solo bot is the scoring at the end, the success at the end, where you have to complete, if you're using the shapeshifter, 7 out of the 8 trials and tribulations. So apart from kind of scoring or your end result or your success at the end being being decided by how many tasks you complete, the rest of the gameplay is fine. The spiders add this nice element of kind of encroaching dread and threat, and not blocking, but kind of making you wonder where you're going to go on the board and how you're going to do that. And that's really good. And you can get this thing where they do the spider scuttle, and depending on the sectors that they're in, most of them can move. And then maybe she's got a move, or the Black Widow's got a move card, and they're moving even further, so they're closing in on you. And you can get a situation where you're getting powdered by the spiders and you're getting attacked by the hunters as well, and that does make for an exciting part of the game. So in terms of the AI for it, in terms of the Black Widow, I think that works very, very well. And so my problem isn't with the solo. It's relatively low overhead, it's easy to run, it does exactly what it needs to do. There's an element of luck in there by rolling this dice, but you know, that's okay. And you get the opportunity to, the more you understand the Black Widow deck and know what cards have come out, to understand potentially what the next cards are going to be. And also, by the use of the negotiation cards, you can manipulate that a little bit as well. So it does everything that it needs to do. So my problem isn't with the solo. My problem is with the core game itself, in that it just isn't fulfilling enough. I know it's a more accessible title from Mindclash, but it just doesn't feel like there's enough there to keep me occupied through the relatively long kind of gameplay time. Now, if you're playing this with multiple players, and I've read online, etc., that people are playing it at 3 and 4, the game can run to 3 or 4 hours. And that is way too long for a game like this, because you don't have this massively changing dynamic state on the board. It's a relatively set board, and your action's going to be kind of replications of what you were doing before, in previous turns or previous rounds, etc. So you don't have this constantly evolving board state. You know, the hunters and the spiders, from a solo perspective, yeah, they add some stuff onto there, but in reality, you're just going to do more or less the same stuff. You've got to play it with the ritual track. It does add an element in there of kind of what your next moves need to be, how you should be playing your cards, matching those cards, moving up on there. But even then, that unlocks the spells, but even then it doesn't feel totally meaningful and totally connected. So it's just this kind of, it's a very glossy game, which once you scratch the surface is not really as deep as I would want it to be. I wasn't expecting it to be an acronym or voidfall levels of depth, but I was expecting a little bit more, a little bit more that would happen in the game that would make the game feel like I was having a unique experience each and every time. And I don't feel that. I feel like I'm playing more or less the same game. The asymmetry comes out of which witches you start the game with and which witches you build up on, you manage to get throughout the game. But in reality, that's it. So you are playing more or less exactly the same kind of game. Now, yes, you can focus on healing people and moving up these tracks here and getting the benefits and getting the points off that. But that becomes a very repetitive strategy because you're just collecting, brewing, healing, collecting, brewing, healing. So you've got to try the other strategies, maybe kind of, getting people into the crowd there and seeing what happens and seeing what you can do on there. Maybe moving up the ritual track. But it just doesn't, none of the decisions I'm making feel totally meaningful. Everything can be changed slightly by using spells. But again, I just don't feel I'm making totally meaningful decisions. Now, when it comes to kind of learning the game, the rulebook is good. You can read through the rulebook and kind of grasp it. But again, it kind of overcomplicates it a little bit. I think that the rulebook makes the game feel like there's more to it than there actually is. And there isn't. It is a relatively light game to play. From a solo perspective, though, the rulebook. Okay, so there are two types of game you can play for this. There's the kind of learning game. It's two modes. There's a basic game, and then there's a full game. And when you're learning the game or reading through the multiplayer rules, it specifically tells you do not try jumping into the full game. You must learn the basic game first. You must absolutely learn the basic game first. Do not jump into the full game. When you're learning the solo, it says you have to play the full game. So as a solo-only player, you've then got to go back and play the basic game, a couple of rounds two-handed, which kind of takes away, the kind of decision of which cards and who's playing what kind of cards and what can match, etc. But to learn the mechanisms, then you have to jump into the full game. And even then, when you jump into the full game with the solo, it's still just okay. What you really need to make it feel even better is you need to add the shapeshifter and the omens cards to then feel like you're having a more rounded game. It's still not enough to make it a massively worthwhile experience for me from a solo perspective. And that is kind of a key problem for this. It's a nice game. It will suit certain people. But for me, I like something potentially a little bit more meaty than this, and it just doesn't do that for me. And I knew going in it wasn't going to be as deep as other Mindclash games, but it's a bit of a swing and a miss for me. When it comes to the trials, now this is my kind of one of my major bugbears on the trials here. So your success in the trials is highly random depending on how many of your loyal citizens you've got in this bag and what comes out. Also, of course, the Black Widow is going to put their citizens in there, and then you're going to get some angry citizens there. So what could happen is you've got two trials. You've got your first trial and your second trial. You may look at the witch on the first trial and think, I don't really want to go for that witch. I really want to try to get that second witch. You have no way other than absolutely loading the crowd with your loyal citizens to plan to get that second witch. No way whatsoever. Or you could even load up all of your loyal citizens and they could all come out in the first trial and you then get no citizens in the second trial. There's no kind of strategic planning that happens there. It's a massive look, and I like looking games, but it's a massive look element for a key part of the game that you can have very little control over, and I feel cheated by that. I want to plan sometimes for the second witch. I can't. There's nothing I can do that. There are only so many actions you can get to put loyal citizens into the crowd, and because of how the game works, you may not know what the second witch or the second witch is going to be next round if there is going to be one there. So it's not like you can plan a round ahead to do that. So there's no long-term strategy involved. It's all very tactical. And that is, again, a key part of the game. It's a massively tactical game with a relatively straightforward experience that will appeal to some people. But for me, it becomes just a rinse and repeat. And that is not down to the solo bot, which the solo AI, the Black Widow, does exactly what it needs to do, apart from those end scoring conditions, which is a bit like on some of the Vita Lacerda solos, where you have to hit certain things to kind of know whether you succeeded or not. it does exactly what it needs to do. Creates a nice chunky opponent that you can manipulate using the negotiation cards. My issue is with the core game itself, it's just not enough there. Now, who will it appeal to? I think this will potentially appeal to people who obviously like a slightly lighter game, but also don't mind kind of rinsing and repeating those actions, like to hone in on turn optimization, on move optimization, on card optimization. Ultimately, it's an optimization game. That's exactly what Septima is, and you're trying to optimize your moves. You can see in that in the kind of brief overview that I did when I did the brew, I could optimize one of my potions with my brew card to get matching, to then do even more and really use all of my ingredients so I could get 3 potions off the back end of it and also score 3 wisdom points. So there is that good feeling when you can do that. The problem being is it doesn't happen that often, and you're playing a tactical game where you're moving from one to the next without any massive long-term plan. And maybe that's down to how you play, but without a long-term plan, that ultimately means I'm not making meaningful decisions. So yeah, Septima by Mindclash then. For me, the solo bot works fantastic, but it's a bit of a swing and a miss. There's too much luck involved in the trials at the end. There's no planning allowed in that. The board state is too static, so not enough happens on that. And yeah, unless you're throwing in the Rituals board, the Shapeshifters expansion, the Omens expansion, there's just not enough meat on the bones to actually justify sitting down and playing for 90 minutes. And from a solo perspective, the game takes too long. It looks great, but with some issues on identifying the sectors on the board. It will be for people who like a lighter game, who are enthralled by the theme. But again, even when you've got spells, I don't think that the witchy theme comes through massively well on that, and I don't feel like I've got these powerful witches. It's just like little tweaks to what I'm doing. I don't know what would make it a better experience for me personally. It kind of misses on quite a few levels for me, and it's not really a game after I've played this kind of 6, 7, 8 times, whatever I have now. Don't think I'm going to go back to it. If the idea of it strikes you, if you like the idea of a mild brain burner optimization game with a nice theme on there, some great artwork and an easy to control AI, then maybe you want to check out Septima by Mindclash. But for me, as I say, it's a swing and a miss from Mindclash, a very unusual swing and a miss from Mindclash. It's my least favourite Mindclash game, and unfortunately it won't be staying in my collection. So there we go. That's my final thoughts on Septima from Mindclash Games. Beautiful production, middling gameplay, and just not enough depth in there to actually justify the playing time for me. So yeah, I hope you found this review useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out my other videos. And one final thought. If you can't find anyone else to play with, then there's nothing wrong with playing with yourselves. Until next time, bye-bye.